Here we have a SAT math question. Okay, let's go the information. For a certain rectangular region, the ratio of its length to its width is 35 to 10. If the width of the rectangular region increases by 7 units, how must the length change to maintain this ratio? Okay, so for a rectangular region, we have the ratio between the length and width, that is 35 to 10. Okay, so here my first work is to get the length and width of the rectangular region. So if I want to get the length and width of the rectangular region from the terms of the ratio, what I need to do is I have to multiply both the terms of the ratio by a positive number. So by what positive number should I multiply the terms of the ratio here? So for example, if I multiply the terms of the ratio by the positive number 1, then the length will be 35, then width will be 10, because 35 times 1 is 35, 10 times 1 is 10. In case if I multiply both the terms of the ratio by the positive number 2, then the length will be 70, the width will be 20. In this way, I can get multiple answers for the dimensions of the rectangular region, that is the length and width. So, and also there is no any restriction how the length of the rectangular region has to be and how the width of the rectangular region has to be. So since we don't have any restriction, for my convenience, I multiply both the terms of the ratio by the positive number 1 to get the length and width of the rectangular region. So therefore, the length is equal to 35, the first term of the ratio, multiplied by 1, which is 35. And the width of the rectangular region is 10 times 1, that is 10. Okay, now I have the length and width of the rectangular region. Okay, now according to the information, the width of the rectangle is going to be increased by 7 units. Then new width is equal to, let me write over here, the new width is equal to 10 positive 7, which is 17 units. So how the length has to be changed? That's what we have to find. Let me write over here. Then we have to find the new length. Okay, so when the width is increased by 7 units, so the length has to be increased or decreased. So we do not know. Okay, so here let's go the information. So after the changes means when the width of the rectangle increases by 7 units and the length is changed by some units, the same ratio has to be maintained. So we have two quantities and two quantities are in the ratio 35 to 10, and we change both the quantities, length and width. So after the changes in both the quantities, if I want to maintain the same ratio, then I have to change both the quantities in the same direction. That is, either I have to increase both the quantities or I have to decrease both the quantities. So already the question says that the width is increased, then the length also has to be increased, so that we can maintain the same ratio 35 to 10. So now it's very clear the length has to be increased. How much the length has to be increased? Already we know that the length of the rectangle region is 35. I assume the length of the rectangle region is going to be increased by x units. Okay, now I got the new width, that is 17, or the new length 35 positive x. So after these two changes, that is width is increased by 7 units and length is increased by x units. So these two quantities will be in the same ratio. According to the information, the same ratio is maintained. So that is the ratio between the new quantities, that is the length 35 positive x to the width 17 equals to the original ratio, that is 35 to 10, because after changes we maintain the same ratio according to the information we have in the question. Okay, now our aim is to solve for x. So x represents the number of units by which the length is increased. Okay, to solve for x in this proportion, because the two ratios are equal, to solve for x in this proportion, I'm going to write each ratio as a fraction. That is 35 positive x over 17 equals to 35 over 10. Okay, 35 positive x over 17 equals to, when I divide 35 by 10, I am getting 3.5. So now to solve for x, I multiply both sides by 17. So this 17 and 17 will cancel out. I'm getting 35 positive x equals to, so I multiply 3.5 times 17. When I do such multiplication, I'm getting 59.5 on the right side. So to solve for x, I have to get rid of this 35. So when I subtract 35 from both sides, I'm getting, so here positive 35, negative 35 will cancel out. I'm getting 24.5. So that is when the width is increased by 7 units, the length has to be increased by 24.5 units, so that the same ratio will be maintained. So the correct answer as for this question is option B, that is the length must increase by 24.5 units.